Zatarain.
Thank you. Tonight I'd like to give a quick overview of how we establish running times or travel times on the bus system between time points. And as you've noted, this is an important component of safe operation of the vehicle. Josh passed around a graph, which I'll get to in a second as part of the discussion. But we try to give operators proper running time along their route so that they have time to recover from potential short delays along the route, such as giving customers more information, boarding bicycles, or other users in a mobility device. The goal is that they can operate the schedule, get to the end of the line on time, and get their break at the end of the line. We've also noticed over the years that we have to continually address running times as conditions out on the public right-of-way change. Traffic patterns change, traffic volumes change, ridership ebbs and flows, always changing out there. And I might say it's becoming more challenging, I think, over the years as there's more activity in the public right-of-way. The basic method we use in looking at setting travel times on the bus system, we collect a lot of data. We're fortunate at TriMet in that through the satellite tracking system, we get daily for each and every bus trip accurate reporting of the time it took the bus to move between point A and point B. So we're able to collect all of those data and then over the course of a 3 to 6 month period aggregate it. And then the question becomes, based on the variable travel time between, say, point A and point B, what do we write the schedule for? And variability is really a big component of this. For example, you might find the same trip on Monday might take 50 minutes. On Tuesday, it might take 47. And it varies day to day. Also, we find this variability among operators. One operator on the same day might be able to operate that trip in 50 minutes. Another operator might take a little bit longer or shorter. So the basic method we use is to collect all of those data points and then look at in the 60 to 80 percentile range, so that where we draw that line for the schedule would be so that 60 to 80% of the observations fall below that scheduled travel time. And if you look at the landscape handout, Josh passed around on the backside, there's a graph that's fairly schematic, but it's a good example of that, what I just discussed. If you look on this graph, the numbers up at the left-hand side are minutes of travel time, and this is between a single time point, pair of time points on a line. Across the graph is the time of day, so starting early in the morning, is to the left and then into the late night. The pink line is what was scheduled for this trip. So even just by looking at it, you can see, for example, that in the afternoon peak, which is just under where it says atp.jpg, you can see, for example, there we were not providing enough running time during the afternoon peak period. So we're able, through the use of the computer program, to move this scheduled line, and it will tell us whether we're at 80% or what percentile we're at. And this is the basic method we use to establish those run times. The data is just one part of it. Before we actually go in and rewrite a schedule, we look at customer comments, yellow cards, and other things help us pinpoint what lines are most in need of additional runtime. And we do try to get out in the field and work with operators and observe the line firsthand so that we can kind of match how this data reflects what's really happening out on the street. And sometimes there are some extenuating circumstances and nuances to take into account. We do ask operators to report any schedule problems. And I might note one of the, I think, items there is that if a problem is identified, sometimes it can be a while before the change is able to take effect because of the quarterly sign-up system or the public information. So we do try to tell operators that, for example, if you're assigned on a line that's got a running time problem this quarter, and we fix it next quarter, you may have moved to another line. So, we need, I think, to do a little bit more in terms of communicating with operators to get back to them that, for example, yeah, you're right, you pointed out the problem, we fixed it, but it's benefiting another operator at that point if you moved on to another line. We do try to limit our major runtime fixes to once a year. That's usually in the fall to coincide with the publication of the printed materials. Between that one major schedule change each year, we try to limit the changes to plus or minus 3 minutes, so we don't have to reprint the public information. One aspect too that's important is as we go into fixed schedules and running time, it generally adds time. We have, over the last decade or so, annually added about 250 to 300 hours of service, and dollar-wise, that can be up close to $1 million gross marginal operating cost.
Kind of a percentage, what that 300 hours is, what, 2%?
It's about 1% of the total service operating, yeah, roughly. One of the ways we've done that in the face of limited budget for expansion is, and I think you noted this at the last meeting, Mr. Walsh, by spreading the headways. So, for example, if a line's operating every 30 minutes unreliably, we would look to go to, let's say, a 35 or 40-minute headway or interval between buses. That's a way to get the proper running time without adding operating costs. It does slightly reduce service to the customer, but I think to the point of it's better to operate reliably less frequently than unreliably more frequently. We do, though, on our heavier lines, that's limited because if we put the interval between buses too far apart, then we start getting passenger crowding, which then has impacts on travel time and variability of running time. So we try to keep an eye on that on our busier lines. And I do want to mention that even as recently we've had the reduction in service, we did not reduce running time or cut out break time to try to achieve that budget target. And in fact, on a couple lines we were able to add running time even as we were reducing service. So it is definitely a value in our department to try to do it right, and we welcome any comments you have.